Welcome to the Vibrantly You podcast. We're your hosts, Megan Martineau.
Caitlin Cipriano. In this podcast, we talk about fitness and nutrition on your motherhood journey. Whether you're trying to conceive, pregnant, postpartum, or beyond, you're welcome here.
Nothing is off limits, and our goal is to support you in this important season of life so that you can feel vibrantly you. As a reminder, this information is not medical advice. Please see the show notes for more details. Can't wait to kick off our very first episode and want to give you a little background on who we are and why we decided to start this podcast. My name is Megan Martineau, and I am the founder of Vibrant Mama Wellness, which is an online pre- and postnatal fitness and coaching business. I grew up an athlete playing basketball, and you'll actually learn that Caitlin and I have had a lot of parallels in our lives, so it's no surprise that the universe has brought us together. But I have always found joy in movement. It was what led me to becoming a certified personal trainer with the National Academy of Sports Medicine because I loved exercise and how it made me feel, and I just really wanted to learn more about how to better support my body. But really, everything changed when I was pregnant. I will be the first person to say that regular personal training certification programs do not teach about the nuances of pregnancy and postpartum and how that fundamentally changes the human body. So I didn't know what I didn't know. And I always say I kind of stumbled through my pregnancy with my son, just doing my regular workouts with modifications that I felt were appropriate, even though I honestly had no clue. But I was super inconsistent because I was also just really nervous that I was going to do something to compromise my pregnancy or hurt myself. And when I was around 32 weeks pregnant, seemingly out of nowhere, I developed debilitating pelvic pain, which led me to taking it very easy the rest of my pregnancy because I could barely walk. I ended up having a planned C-section due to my son being breech, and I felt completely blindsided by how hard the postpartum recovery was. My body just felt broken, and for a while, I thought I was never going to feel like myself again. I really struggled to find a good postpartum program to help with my diastasis recti, which is abdominal separation, and some pelvic floor symptoms that I was experiencing. So it was at 6 months postpartum that I decided to enroll in my first pre and postnatal certification program, which changed my life. As I incorporated everything I was learning into my workouts, I felt my body heal and gain strength, and I immediately knew that every mom needed to have this information. Fast forward about 2 years, and I got pregnant with my daughter. And again, I was able to apply everything I knew in my pregnancy workouts. And I was able to go on to have a completely different experience with minimal pain and discomfort and have the VBAC, which is a vaginal birth after cesarean that I had dreamed of, as well as a much easier postpartum recovery. I primarily work one-on-one with clients in pregnancy and early postpartum because pregnancy is such a unique and individual experience, and feeling your best really goes beyond just your workouts. I work closely with my clients on mindset and habit formation as well, so they can thrive during pregnancy, feel empowered for birth, no matter how they birth their babies.
I'm Caitlin Cipriano. Much like Megan, I grew up in Vermont. I played basketball throughout college, and it was at that point after I graduated college that I really started to struggle with my own health and body image. I felt pretty lost on how to actually take care of myself as a young professional, and I initially slipped into that MLM coach Kool-Aid for a little while, but I shortly realized that there really had to be more. I came from a really evidence based practice with my athletic training degree. And so I went on to get my master's in nutrition and human performance. I've worked with all walks of life, really. My very first client was actually a professional snowboarder. And after having my first kiddo, my son, I really started to dive further into the perinatal space and became a certified perinatal nutritionist. While I became at peace with my body after having my first kiddo and learning how to nourish it, really realized that moms who were trying to conceive was such an area of lack of nutrition and misinformation, all throughout that time frame, like trying to conceive through pregnancy, postpartum. And after talking with friends and followers, the general consensus was that if you're struggling to get pregnant, the guidance you get is wait a year, come back, we'll get you started on a medicated cycle. Or maybe you're told to eat less and move your body more to lose weight, but there's really no guidance in that. And then once you do get pregnant, you're handed a pamphlet on what not to eat. Again, not super helpful and doesn't really tell you how you can best nourish yourself and support your baby. After all, you are now growing a whole human, and that's really hard work. I work with women trying to conceive, pregnant, and postpartum, as well as beyond, on nourishing their bodies so they can feel confident in how they show up as moms. I take a holistic approach that can help you create nutrition that feels aligned with your overall values. Um, Much like Megan, outside of my practice, I struggled with some different things during both of my pregnancies. We'll talk about birth stories at later episodes, but I have not seemingly fallen into this without issues. So I like to make sure that my practice is really relatable as well. Really glad that you guys are here.
Yes, we are so happy you guys are here. And we also just want to give you a little background on how we met, how we got into this work together. So, Caitlin and I, we both grew up in Vermont, and we actually met through a mutual friend in college. We met one time, we friended each other on social media, like people do. And we were just kind of connected in that way. Like Caitlin mentioned, she played basketball, I played basketball. So we really just had so many parallels in our lives that we weren't even aware of. And probably, like 6 or 7 years after we graduated college, we both noticed that we were sharing on Instagram about like our health and fitness journeys. So we reconnected again, just in that shared experience. And then our kids are pretty much the same age. So when we were pregnant, postpartum, um, we both just started moving into that perinatal space at the same time. And we just really saw this gap where pregnant and postpartum moms just need a whole lot more support when it comes to their exercise, their movement, their nutrition, learning how to take care of their bodies in a holistic way. And we were like, we need to combine forces and support moms so that they can really thrive during this time because pregnancy and postpartum is so transformational. I'm sure we'll get into this in episodes because we could talk about this for days, just the
Yeah.
support that moms need, how we get left behind. So Caitlin and I are just so passionate about this. Um, and we're really excited to just dive into all of these topics more on the podcast.
Yeah, which is really, like you said, why we started the podcast because we could talk for days about like all things pregnancy and motherhood. We seriously love sharing evidence-based knowledge with others so that they can take that information and then apply it to their own life. You can expect to hear real stories from moms who just get it, but we're also going to make sure that you have the most up-to-date nutrition and fitness information so that you can really cut through the BS that's on the internet and social media and feel really empowered about the decisions that you're making along your motherhood journey. And we're going to be here with you every step of the way.
Yes, so you can expect to get a new podcast episode from us on Wednesdays. If you want to connect with us off the pod, you can follow us on Instagram at Vibrantly You Podcast. We each have our own Instagram and TikTok pages. You can find mine, Megan, at Vibrant Mama Wellness on all platforms, and Caitlin is at Wholesome Huntress on all platforms. And then we each have our individual websites as well. So mine is www.vibrantmamawellness.com and Caitlin's is www.wholesomehuntressnutrition.com. And we will have all of this linked in the show notes as well. So thank you so much for being here, and we'll talk to you in the next episode.